So we're gonna solve by factoring. So you can solve by using square roots. You can solve by using your graphing calculator. You can also solve by factoring sometimes. So this is not an all the time situation either, but many times you can. So we'll start here. So what are the solutions of the equation 4t plus 1 t times t minus 2 equals 0? So for this to equal 0, then that means either this binomial equals 0 or this one does, right? So what you're going to do is basically when you get the binomials is you separate them and you solve each of them as if they're equal to 0. So 4t plus 1 equals 0. We're going to solve that one, and that will give us one of our solutions or one of the places that the quadratic will hit the x-axis, okay? So what's the first step? Not add 1. Minus 1, yep. Okay, so that gives me 4t equal negative 1. What's the second step now? Divide by 4. And so the nice thing about this, other than, trying to graph, is that this gives us a fraction. So t equal negative 1/4. That is one solution. That's one place the quadratic function is going to hit that x-axis. The other one is going to be this. So we're going to solve this one. T minus 2 equals 0. That's the other one. Now that one, a lot of you can do it in your head. What's the solution? 2, right? Mathematically, right, if you needed to, we would add 2 and add 2 to this side, and we would get t equal 2. These are your two solutions. So your quadratic is positive, so it's going to open up. It's going to cross the x-axis at negative 1/4 and at positive 2. Okay? So that's how you do that one. Because of the video, we'll go back and do these two later. But let's go and solve by factoring problem 2. So now problem 2 says what are the solutions of the equation? And it has it written out in standard form, right? It's not as a binomials. So you have to factor it into binomials first and then do it, okay? So to factor it from last chapter, right, we're looking for AC, right? So A is 1, C is 15. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to get 15. Oh, Siri's trying to talk to us. And then add to get B, which would be 8, right? So positive 3 and 5. So our binomials would be x plus 3 times x plus 5. And remember, they're equaling 0 here to get our solutions because we're trying to find out where it crosses the x-axis. So just like we did above, we are going to separate them and solve them. So really, we're saying x plus 3 equals 0 and solving that. And you can either do that in your head or mathematically. What would it have to be? Negative 3. X would have to equal negative 3. Mathematically, you would cancel that out by subtracting 3 from each side. So x equal negative 3. That is one spot it'll cross the x-axis. The other spot, set this one. X plus 5 equals 0. Okay, a lot of you can do that one in your head as well, but if you were doing it mathematically, you would subtract 5 from each side. X equal negative 5. And so we know the solutions are x equal negative 3 and x equal negative 5. That would be where it's going to cross the x-axis. Okay, good. And it's opening up. So we've got that. Now, let's just recall, let's do one of the got it's here. So part C is the one I want to focus in on. So now A times C, what's that going to be? 36, right? And B is going to be negative 15. So remember that A times C sometimes gives you a little higher numbers, and you might have to use your calculator to find out what two numbers will multiply to give you 36, but add to give you negative 15? Okay, so we're multiplying to get a positive, right? But adding to get a negative. So what does that tell you? Two negatives, right? Do you know what they are? Negative 3 and negative 12. Okay, so our negative 3 and negative 12. Now this time though, it's not x minus 3, x minus 12, is it? How do I factor that now? Not yet. Binomials is not yet. We have to rewrite it first. Do you remember this? We have to do this. So this is going to be now 2a squared. And we got to rewrite it like this. So we're going to say minus 3a minus 12a. We're rewriting the middle term, remember? Plus 18, yep. And I'm not writing equals 0 yet, or I guess I could. And then what do we do? Separate it. We got to separate it and factor out a GCF. So separate it here. So what would be the GCF of the left side? 1a, yep. So we've got 1a, I'm just going to write it as a, and then if I take that out, I'm left with 2a minus 3, right? What would be the GCF of the right side now? Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Negative 6.
Negative 6. And so then I'm left with 2a minus 3. And so if you had pulled out a positive 6, right, then we would have had a negative 2a and a positive 3. So we would have known, like, okay, that's not what we want. Equals 0. How do I now rewrite this? Go, LSE.
A minus 6 and
2a minus 3 are our binomials. Okay, so you factor it. Now you solve each side, right? So a minus 6 has to equal 0. Right? And so in your head, what would a have to be? A is 6. You could get that by adding 6 to both sides. So that's one of our solutions. And the other one, 2a minus 3 equals 0. Okay, so what do we do first? Add 3, yep. And I'm going to run out of space here. So I have 2a equal 3. Then what do I do? Divide by 2. And I'm going to use a sticky note under here so that I don't write on my underside. Yep. So if I divide by 2, I get a equal 1.5, or you can leave it 3 over 2. That's fine. And those are our two solutions. Then that's where that quadratic would cross at positive 6, right? And 3 over 2, or 1.5. So far, so good? Beautiful. All right, so then our last part for today is on the back. Oops. And then we're actually going to save this story problem until Monday. We're going to end with this last one, which would be problem 3. And it says on this, and so this is where sometimes we run into a little bit of a snag. So it says, what are the solutions of 4x squared minus 21x equal 18? So in order to do any of these and solve the quadratics, you have to first make sure they are equal to 0, okay? And so sometimes they're not. They're equal to a number here. And so what you want to do is make it equal 0 first. So in order to make this equal 0, we got to get rid of that 18, right? So you're allowed to subtract 18 here, but then where do you also have to subtract it? On the other side, yeah? So if I rewrite this, it's really 4x squared minus 21x minus 18 equals 0. It's got to be written in that way first. Then we can factor it and solve it. So in this case, Is there a greatest common factor that can come out of all three of these? There is not. So you would think it would be 3, but that doesn't work for the 4, does it? Okay, so your only option is to do A, C, and B. So 4 times negative 18, what is that? Negative 72. And B, it's got to add to give me negative 21. So we have a negative and a negative, right? To multiply and get a negative, you have to have a positive and a negative, right? So give me a positive and a negative that multiply to get negative 72, but then add to get negative 21. Multiply to get negative 72, but add to get negative 21. Nathaniel, go.
Negative 24 and 3.
Negative 24 and 3. Okay, great job. And you could use your calculator and start dividing, right, to get that. Okay, so let's rewrite my equation now. So rewrite that as 4x squared minus 24x plus 3x minus 18 equals 0. Then what do we do?
Cut it in half.
Let's cut it in half. That's right. So if I split it down the middle here, what's my GCF on the left?
2.
4x, yes. 4x comes out, leaving me with x minus what? 6, yep. And on the right side, what's my GCF? 3, yep. So leaving me, again, with x minus 6, which is what I needed it to be. Reformat here. So my first binomial is 4x plus 3. And my other one is x minus 6. And I'm running out of space again, so I will have to do mine on a sticky note because I write too big here. All right, that's fine though. Okay, so solve each side now. So let's start with 4x plus 3 equaling 0. What do we do? Subtract 3. So 4x equal negative 3. Then what? Divide by 4. Can you leave it x equal negative 3/4? Yeah, you can. And a lot of times, especially on like SAT, they will leave it as a fraction. Sometimes they do a decimal. They are equivalent, so you could put negative 0.75. Okay, then the other one would be x minus 6 equals 0. A lot of you can do that in your head. It's 6, right? If you can't, that means you would add 6 to each side. X equals 6. So we know this one is going to cross at negative 0.75 and positive 6. All right, there we go. That is the lesson. Today, what we're going to do for our assignment on our 9-4 practice is we're going to focus on numbers. Actually, no, we're only going to do 1 through 18, okay, is what we're going to focus on today, 1 through 18. Okay, good. Any questions on here from people?